three. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
Everybody, welcome to Teaching Crypto. This is AZcrypto and MrFOMO. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please hit that like, please hit that bell notification, and most importantly, please hit that subscribe button. Share our channel so we can help grow to 2,000. We'd love to have you create more content, and if you do think about it, maybe throw us a super chat if you feel like it. Now, Mr. FOMO, we had an exciting night last night on a couple areas for Bitcoin and crypto. First of all, the news came out that Michael Saylor did buy some Bitcoin in July, and also that he intends to buy a lot more. So what happened, Mr. FOMO, is last night we did have a candle very late at night that touched 30K. It talks about how Michael Saylor here, MicroStrategy, the software developer that amassed a giant Bitcoin stash in recent years, may raise up to $750 million by selling more stock, and plans to take the proceeds and buy Bitcoin. So those two news, the fact that he bought Bitcoin already in July, and that he is wanting to get even more, well, that forced the price to go up in a very, very slow amount of time, because right after that, it came crashing. And you're going to tell us why this Michael Saylor news wasn't enough to drive the market up consistently throughout today.
Yeah, unfortunately, the U.S., and this came as a surprise to the White House, but the U.S. was downgraded from a AAA rating to a AA plus rating by Fitch. And this is the second credit rating company to do this. They followed Standard & Poor's. So this isn't good. That sent a lot of traders to safety, bonds, U.S. dollars. And you saw everything. I mean, especially technology, risk on assets, which Bitcoin is generally considered to be. And so, that's what you saw in the market today, is you saw the market responding to that negative news. Cloud Casino says this only came as a surprise to the White House. So, yeah.
And I think that was part of it. But I also, and I want to talk about this, there's another reason. People were anticipating the FUD with Binance to continue. And today, a story leaked that the Justice Department may, in quotes, seek charges against Binance. And some people thought, well, that's kind of the reason why people have been lukewarm with Bitcoin, is they were waiting for that to drop, that kind of to create, a black market day, and then things to go up. So we'll see if those people are correct. I've seen several people and say that. So I think those two news stories are what drove us down. Bottom line for me, the fundamentals have not changed. And I just keep saying this. And again, I can keep looking like a fool so far on day two. This is day 2 of the month. I look like a fool. I anticipate Bitcoin recapturing 30K. 30,600 is kind of where we are. And so there is a lot of, if you're new to, crypto and Bitcoin, right now, 30K is kind of a resistance, anywhere between 30,000 and 30,600 resistance, because a lot of people have sell orders there. And so they're buying in the 29s, but they have sells scheduled. So we need to kind of keep pushing, and eventually we will break that line. The question now becomes, is it going to happen as soon as I think it's going to happen in this month? This lull is going to continue. Not good for our show, but at least you're being honest. And I anticipate we're going to have some green days in the next few weeks. Only time will tell. I honestly was thinking by the end of this week, we would already capture 30. Well, it's Wednesday, so it ain't looking good for me, because I said last week by the end of the week, I would be surprised if we were still at 29. Well, we're definitely still at 29 here.
And a lot of people have barked out a lot of different wild theories about how the cycle is broken and there's no more Bitcoin cycle. And we heard a lot of that right before the market broke down, right? Like everybody was talking extended cycle, there's so much action in the market that it's not going to go down anymore. And it's just, as these things continue to happen, it becomes more and more apparent that the market is still very cyclical. And so I'm going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to say that starting in October, we're going to see a little bit more of a gradual uptick from Bitcoin and the entire market. And then Bitcoin will start charging towards the halving. And then after the halving, we're going to see quite a bit of positive action.
Yeah. So you're delayed, or you're having until October. That's well into the football season. I have us having some green days here during the preseason games.
Yeah, tune into Teaching Crypto for Mr. FOMO to be a wet blanket on the market.
I mean, we'll see. At least you're being honest. That's the beauty of the show, guys, is we're not pumping you with hopium all the time. And then when things go wrong, we pretend we didn't say anything. There was some good news today with a project that I want to say, we talked about Cardano being divisive in the community. Another one is HBAR. And I want to talk about HBAR because there's some good here, but some things that frustrated me about this, Mr. FOMO. So the first thing about HBAR, and I commented on this on X. If you want to follow me at AZcrypto, you can. Hyundai and Kia, which I actually do own a Hyundai, to introduce blockchain-based carbon emission. We both do, and I used to own a Kia. Monitoring system to foster a sustainable value chain. Now, that's great for Hyundai to say that. But here is my kind of annoyance here. No mention of HBAR. HBAR retweeted that they're doing this, but Hyundai and Kia didn't. And it would be nice if they did. And now if HBAR was like a stock company, you would see it just take off. But let me show you what happened. And this is I understand that Bitcoin is struggling, but here's what actually happened today. And I'm going to show you here the HBAR price chart. So we did see some positive movement. You see here we started in the 5.1 cent range, and we did go up to 5.3, but then we came back down. No reason for this to come down. And again, unfortunately, we've talked about Quant Tennessee. We like them a lot. That was an episode about last week, so go back and watch that one for sure. We talked about Quant. Mr. FOMO, you went in on Quant pretty deeply, actually. For sure.
Yeah, Quant, I really like Quant for a lot of different reasons. One, the low supply, but two, the team is really good, especially the founder. I'm a big fan of Quant now, and so I don't know if you've seen that video, but I thank you for putting me onto that, and I even bought a little Quant while I was doing the video because I fell in love with it so much. So,
yeah. Now I'm a folder. I used to own some HBAR during the last bull run, and at some point, plan to get in. Right now, more heavy on the Bitcoin side for now. But I do think HBAR has some potential. They're one of the few projects that really has shown some ability to have some type of real world utility. And real world utility is kind of in crypto, it's kind of hard, right? So let's be honest. Like we thought Chili's had real world utility with a lot of the sports teams, where it turns out they really were advertising. A lot of the NBA teams and MLB, NHL, NFL, they didn't really get a lot of NFL teams, but it was really more of an advertising relationship than there were no tokens for the actual teams that the fans were buying. The idea would be buy the fan token, and then you would get to vote on what jerseys the teams would wear, what songs they would play during the games, all that different logos. That hasn't happened yet in the United States. And that's just an example. We thought VeChain had utility. We find out that no one's actually using the blockchain that much in real life. And so this will be interesting to follow, Mr. FOMO, because HBAR does have some big partners. We talked about
they've always had some big partners. This is a big partnership, even though Hyundai and Kia were kind of like, yeah, we're working on blockchain. But it's always good to see this kind of stuff, especially in a unique project like HBAR, because we always talk about how it's different than a blockchain. It's a Hashgraph. There's subtle differences, and it's one of those projects that is intriguing because it can also add a little bit of diversity to your portfolio, because it's not exactly what everything else is. Like, it's not a carbon copy of Bitcoin. It's not necessarily like Ethereum. It's not necessarily like anything else. It kind of is its own thing, at least in that respect. And so to see it as its own thing, to see it having its own unique stance, and then to see it having big partnerships is pretty attractive.
there's a lot of things I like about HBAR. The market cap's only 1.7 billion. The one thing, hi Thay, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, Tennessee, HBAR has a lot of fans. The one thing HBAR I think needs to do better is promoting themselves, because if this was the stock world, HBAR would be pumping today. It pumped just a little bit, and again, Bitcoin keeps everything down. But in the past, they haven't done the best job of promoting themselves, like some of the other projects where they have this huge community that's tweeting and tweeting and tweeting. Well, HBAR, they haven't done that per se. They do have the Harbarians, they used to call themselves in the last bull run, but they need to get a little bit louder. I do think HBAR has some potential, especially if crypto really grows up and there's more and more real world utility using these technologies. And so if this Hyundai Kia partnership really does evolve, and actually Hyundai just comes out and says, hey, we love HBAR, we're using it, that would be a much different tweet than we saw today. And I think that would go a long way. I'm not just talking about for HBAR, but for the industry as well, Mr. FOMO.
Well, and that's one of the things that we always talk about, or at least one of the things that I dislike about crypto and digital assets, is that there are very few projects that really do a good job of marketing themselves. You know, Algorand, we talked about yesterday, does a great job of marketing themselves and getting themselves out there. But HBAR could definitely use some tips. They could definitely use a head of PR to get this information out there a little bit more, I don't know, effectively, because you're right. This should cause way more positive movement. And I'm sure that, big time HBAR holders are disappointed in the movement that they've seen today, unless they were one of those ones that caught that giant candle and then dumped.
I don't know if I don't want to say disappointed. I'll just say this: when we are having fully into the bull run after the halving, if there's news like this, it really should pump. They had a partnership with an Australian debit company too during the last bull run, and that didn't cause it to pump. And so these are real people trying to do real things, unlike some of these fake tokens where they just print unlimited supply and people are buying them. You kind of know. I mean, if you guys are making money off them, great, I'm happy for you. But in the long run, these are the kind of things that are not going to really propel the industry forward, because you want more retail to come in. You want people that are in the stock market to dip their toes into digital assets and crypto, and showing real world usage is kind of like the first step. And so I like this news, but I hope this news has a bigger reaction in the future, right?
Well, I mean, there is sort of this is sort of politically taboo to at least half the country and half the investors in the country. So, I mean, really, when you talk about this, you're talking about green technology. You're talking about monitoring people's emissions. These are things that a lot of people don't like. And so, while the partnership is great, I think the use case probably turns some investors off because they're not necessarily into that, like either politically or it's just not part of their portfolio, or it doesn't fit their strategy. Whatever
everyone,
reason
I'm going to
there
fight
are a lot
back.
of reasons that people are turned.
I'm going to fight back. Was everyone for electric cars when they first came out?
Oh no, but
now look. Yeah, Tennessee, we'll do a deep dive on Jasmine token for sure. No, don't worry. We'll. Yeah, well, we haven't mentioned WorldCoin, and I've got a lot of questions about that one. The only reason that WorldCoin has gotten any publicity clout is because the guy that created it created ChatGPT, and he gave him a large audience. But WorldCoin isn't even available in the United States, and I have hesitation thinking it's ever going to be legal in the United States. So that's one of the reasons why we really haven't discussed it. Is one, you guys can't buy it, and two, I don't know if it's sustainable. A lot of the countries have already started banning it that had it open last week. So I just don't know if that's really gonna take shape. But like I've heard the complaint that HBAR is too corporate. But if people are using their technology, guys, that's a good thing. I think people in the space need to open up their eyes. Forget about politics. Forget about if someone's technology is useful and people are using it and it's in the crypto space, it should be applauded.
Oh yeah, and I'm not saying that is a smart investment strategy to necessarily stay away from things that you don't agree with politically. But I'm just saying that there are a lot of people that are turned off by that kind of a thing. But yeah, I personally think that you follow the smart money, right? And if you see new technology on the horizon, you should be into it. That's why we're all into digital assets right now.
Yeah. And like I said, I really do hope more and more real use case comes into effect. And I'm kind of, to be honest with you, I'm just going to vent here. I'm sick of seeing some of these blockchain projects talk about gaming that no one is using, NFTs that no one is buying. That's not real world use case. The reality is they don't need your blockchain to play video games right now. The kids don't. Okay. I'm trying to be honest, trying to be real. That's the beauty of this channel. And so it's great that you can play games on a blockchain, but there's got to be more to it. Okay. If there's an incentive for people to play games so that, they can earn a living like Axie Infinity had, that's one thing. But, I see a lot of tweets about, well, we've got this game and that game. It's like, great. But if no one's playing them and they're not that great of a game compared to what you could get on an Xbox or a PlayStation, then does it really matter? Or Nintendo Switch?
You've sort of hit the nail on the head right there. When they start partnering with those, the way that Engine had a partnership, and they were talking about, taking an NFT and making it part of your avatar and allowing your avatar to move from game to game to game. I thought those were interesting ideas, and I wish that they would have pushed those more. Again, lack of marketing. But I thought that they were on the cusp of something great last bull run, and I'm hoping to see them doing more on that.
I will check that out.
Let's see. I want to hear Clout Casino saying, check out the American semiconductor stock. I'm going to put that up there. Thank you for the tip.
I'm gonna check that out. By the way, and I think I've mentioned this before. Speaking of stocks, some people are using Fidelity for their stocks in crypto. If you don't know, Fidelity is offering Bitcoin, and it's a little bit different. There's no wallets, Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I've known a few people now that have started buying them on Fidelity. I know it's not, cold storage or anything like that, but it is getting crypto available to some different type of investors. And so that's one of the reasons too, I think this next bull run will be successsul is you have more people dipping their toes in people they trust. Okay.
Well, yeah, we've said before, TradFi has to be involved somehow, and it's got to look somewhat like TradFi in order for people to be comfortable switching over. And we can have that argument at a later date with some of our viewers. I know some disagree with that, but to see those TradFi companies come in, Fidelity, River, and offering access to crypto is a great sign, is a really great sign, because like you said, it opens the market to more investors and it takes away a lot of that fear, right? There are some banks that have, shunned crypto investors and told them they didn't want them purchasing. And so it's good to see TradFi accepting crypto.
It's a bit of a mixed message, right? We talked last week how Bank of America gave Avalanche a huge thumbs up for their plans to tokenize a lot of assets in the future. So it's a mixed message. They kind of don't want to get the negative publicity, but they also don't want to miss out. So it's kind of like they have 1 foot in the pool and 1 foot out. That's basically what it is. But guys, listen, we really appreciate your support, especially those of you that come to our live shows. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for being subscribers. If you could help us out by sharing, and if you haven't done so, please hit that subscribe button, as it dramatically helps us out. For MrFOMO, this is AZcrypto saying have a wonderful night, and we will see you later.
See you.